Yes, we are live, and
We're live.
the issues are fixed. So thank you guys for being here for our very first live episode. We're here to entertain you for Halloween. We got four beautiful movies for you. But before that, how have you been this month, Jake?
I'm good. Watching a lot of horror movies. It's October and stuff, so you know. Yeah, so we'll get into it, but mainly the movies for this podcast with some other non-essential horror movies of my own too.
Yeah, I feel like this is like Groundhog Day. Like we've done this intro, and we're just trying to keep it consistent. What
Yeah,
about
we
you, Tosh?
I'm here. Ready to get started.
Okay, all right, all right. So we got four beautiful movies for the audience today. We got Hellfest. We got Evil Dead from 2013. We got It Chapter 1. We got It Chapter 2. And we're doing all that. But one of the things about being live is that we have to decide ahead of time what the order is. So that's how I can never ever forget again, like I have in previous episodes. So Hellfest, go Jake. Let's do it.
Yeah, this was my Halloween themed pick this year. So basically the plot is it's pretty thin. It's just kind of a group of friends go to this theme park haunted house event, and they're just kind of having a good time, and then this random masked guy just comes through and decides he's just going to kill a bunch of people, and he targets this group of friends because I think, well, they witness him kill the first random girl that kind of insulted him, and then he just kind of latches on and kills off the group of the main characters one by one. And then you find out at the end that you don't find out who the guy is, but you find out that he's just like this random regular father that has a little girl that loves him and stuff. So it was kind of a little weird twist ending, I guess. Not really a twist, but just kind of a weird ending. And Mike says the audio, we're all good. Like everything's
Thanks,
sounding
Mike.
good.
Mike's like the sound booth man. He's just like
Mike
thumbs
is
up.
our PA.
Yeah, I just hate that he has to wait like to let us know, but because of the stream delay and stuff. But, I'm glad everything's working, and thank you so much for your help, Mike. I guess this movie, there's so many things I don't like about it, but it gets me hyped for the houses. Like it's kind of a dumb movie. The characters are not. I'm never gonna remember them. Like I don't even know their names. I've never known their names. Like when you said the
Yeah.
main character's name, I was like, oh, that's her name.
I had to Google it. I did not know her name.
Yeah, I mean, contrast that to with other movies, and I think this is one of those movies that it literally wants you to hate the main characters. Like it wants you to be like, "Oh, I can't wait to see these kids
Yeah.
die."
It felt like a late '90s, early 2000s slasher, but just like in tone, because it was just kind of a slasher that was having fun. It wasn't trying to like do anything groundbreaking or like tell this really deep story with a lot of underlying themes and whatever. I mean, it knew what it was for sure, but I liked this movie. We saw it in theaters when it came out, and I had a great time with it. But like I've watched it 3 or 4 times now, and every time I like it less and less. I think it's just I'm noticing like the stuff I thought was like an in joke to people that go to haunts. Now I'm just like, well, no, that's not how it actually is. you know?
Yeah, like all the people going in like one group at a time.
Yeah.
One thing that's funny is when they skip the line and they're being like complete d bags.
We haven't done that out loud, but we've definitely joked about doing that. For
Yeah,
sure.
Yes.
yeah, yeah. The difference is they're big enough douche canoes to actually do that.
Yeah, like that scene, and then when they do the Jello shot syringe drinks, that they don't have those at Universal down here, but they have them at Howl-O-Scream in Tampa. So it's like that felt like accurate, or that's something I've seen before.
Yeah, because I mean, at Universal, you got the body bag filled with
Yeah.
blood instead of the syringes.
But yeah, like or there was some stuff that was really well observed, but then a lot of it felt like it was written by somebody that has never been to a haunt. Like when they're like Mike said, they're going in one at a time, and that first house they do that's like the school, and they're in that one room and just like they're messing with the props and they're literally in there for like a full 2 minutes just standing there. I'm like, that's not how haunted houses work.
There's no way. Did you see that line? That line would be like longer than Stranger Things.
Yeah, like the actors are just standing there letting them do it, and I'm like, no, they would be like yelling at them and trying to move them out of the room and stuff. I don't.
Yeah, and they didn't have the employee that like stands in every room, like at every checkpoint, you know, to
direct them in the right way,
direct you in the right direction, but also like to make sure that you don't want to exit or whatever. Which that's not every haunt has that though.
But no, that's a great point, and like that's a big plot hole because like this whole movie could have been avoided if the ops guy was just like, "Oh shit, he's really killing her. Let me radio my manager." End of story.
Yeah, I'm going for the Oscar this year. Yeah, like when the girl runs out and he kills her, and they just watch it and they don't know the difference. And yeah, I could see that though. I could see that happening, but I don't know. There's just something. You know, some kind of difference between real and fiction in those.
Yeah, like you could definitely tell just the way people act in these haunts, like they're not like Oscar-winning actors. They're just random people with masks on. So it's not if you think they're actually being murdered, they probably are.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought that the house at the end of the movie was a really cool house, though. I want to go through that house, the one at the end, the one where
hell
it separates their groups. Oh wait, that's not at the end. Sorry, I liked the one that separates the groups, but then I told Tasha jokingly that like the two guys got the far superior house to the girls when they went in, and I was like, if me and Jake went through that house and then you guys went through the other one, you guys would be so salty. Because it didn't look like a way you could backtrack and do, but I'm sure you can.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that is a cool idea for a haunt. But and just like when they walk into the room and there's the girl on the bed with all the needles hanging out of her arm, I'm like, whoa, I don't know. I don't think haunts would do that, especially not a theme park haunt.
No, because it's supposed to be like family friendly.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have a girl ODing on a bed in a haunted house.
I like how the axe is real, too. It's not only is it not glued down so that guests can't pick it up, but it's fucking real.
And it's the only thing because the two girls are like later they're trying to find a real prop and they're like, they're all fake. And I'm like, yeah, that's what would really happen. Mm-hmm. There wouldn't be a real axe in this haunted house. Yeah,
maybe that guy left it there, you know? Nobody else questioned it.
Possibly, but like I don't know. I did like how the villain. It seemed like his whole thing was basically, like he was just kind of flying by the seat of his pants because he walks in and I assumed he had a knife in his shoe and the metal detector went off and they thought it was the boots, and then he finds that shaved ice pick that he uses. So he like. It felt not realistic, but it felt natural, and that the guy was just like kind of walking around using his surroundings. He didn't come with like a fucking machine gun and walk into the haunted house and just start shooting people. You know?
Yeah, it did kind of get a little ridiculous after the chick supposedly got her head chopped off, and then he did that in the middle of a crowd, and then it just got like it just kind of went downhill a little bit because then like. At that point, when everyone's running and scattering because he's like, you know, this crazy guy, I have a hard time believing, one, that you would run into a house that you're going to be trapped in. Like, why would you go there? Two, that, like, nobody would report, like, where the guy is. So, like, they don't even know where he is until they come out and yell for help or whatever. Well, no, they do. They come at the end, but it takes them, like, freaking forever to go in there. And I have a heart, like, I like directors being able to tell creative stories, so I don't like to be too nitpicky, even though I point them out, but that one was a big stretch for me. I was like,
My thing is like, what's his motive in, like, killing random people at theme parks?
Yeah, that is one thing I did like, though. I like that that was left ambiguous. I like that they didn't try to over-explain and give this guy a backstory and, like...
Yeah.
it was kind of like the original Halloween, where he's just an evil person that just likes to kill people, and it's completely random who he kills. I did like that aspect of it.
He's
For
kind of
me
like
Wait,
personally.
no, yeah, you have your opinion.
he's kind of like Stephen Wilkins from Trick or Treat.
Yeah.
Stephen Wilkins. Like why does he do that every year?
Yep. Yeah, and well, the one thing I really wish was real, and maybe a haunt does this, was like the thing where you have to ride the ride to get to the haunted house.
Yeah, that
like
was
To get to the
really,
hardcore area or whatever.
yeah, that I love that concept. I wish that was real.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
pretty cool.
It was a cool little gotcha moment when it stopped it, and then like the character comes out and she was scared the shit out of her and stuff. But like, I feel like that you would have heard of that if that was one of their gimmicks. Like, maybe
Yeah.
not. Maybe they'd be able to keep it under wraps, but I don't know. And maybe the
Yeah,
other
that-
kids knew that was going to happen, and she didn't.
They did. The one guy did tell his girlfriend that it's like any single rider.
Yeah.
He did say something.
Oh no, I don't mean the single rider thing. I mean like that the remember the car stop and then the guy like attacked her that was standing inside of the ride,
Yeah.
and that was part of the experience. So what I'm saying is
Okay.
that surprised her, and I just feel like that
She's
you
never
would
been
know.
there. She's never
Right.
been there.
But I don't think that was the killer, the one that like
No.
stalked
No,
her
no,
and
no.
jumped on
It
the
wasn't.
car.
It wasn't. No, that's what I'm saying. That's part of the
Okay.
experience. That's something that happens consistently. It's not something
Yeah,
that just
yeah.
happened to their group. That's like, they want to make it sound like that the ride's broken down, and then that's that's the twist at that moment, is that you thought that it was the guy, but it wasn't, and it was part of the experience of transitioning between the two. What I'm saying is, I feel like that the characters would know that was the case, because either it would happen while they're in line, or they would just heard about it.
Again, they haven't really been there. None of them has.
Yeah. The main girl especially, I don't think
Yeah,
she was
she's-
into haunts at all.
She's never.
She's dropping in blind.
They talked her into going because that's not her thing.
Yeah, she didn't Google it.
But like those friends are so like I would not be friends with them. It's just like come to this haunted house with us. No, we're just gonna ditch you all night because we're doing couples things. I'm like fuck that. Like no, I didn't drive 4 hours to get here or whatever the hell for you to be ignored all night.
Seriously.
Read.
That was the part that stung the worst. I don't care about death. I'm just like don't be mean to your single friend.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah. What about the one where the train or the bus or whatever was going to run him over? I was like, this is a cool house.
Oh yeah. Like it wasn't as good as like the houses October built in terms of like seeing the inside of the houses, but like the house, the interior of the houses they did, most of them were fun.
Yeah.
Like it was done with like some care and like some thought was put into it.
I liked the flashlight gimmick, where like the flashlight knows what part of the house you're in somehow,
Yeah.
and like behaves differently. Thought that was neat. But like, I
Yeah.
feel like people would be whacking it all day because they would feel like that their flashlight's fucking up when that happened.
Yeah.
So it'd just be like so much shock on that flashlight.
It would definitely break every other group.
Yeah, because like, what if you get a light that actually breaks and doesn't function properly, and you can't find your way through the house, and they don't have employees in the middle of it, so you just wait for the group behind you.
Yeah, it is. And the other,
I could see you guys just Karening that so bad, you and Mike.
get back. No, back up. This is our room.
Yeah. It's like, can we
Yeah, I
borrow
feel-
your flashlight?
I feel like we're nitpicking this movie to death. There's definitely a lot of like logical plot holes and stuff that it just feels like it's somebody who has a base knowledge of how the haunt industry works, but they just kind of made up their own shit, and that's just the part that's a little frustrating. I wish, even as cheesy as this movie is, I would love it a lot more if the depictions of like the haunt experience were more realistic, or like there was more care put into like actually pulling things from real life, and not just completely making everything up.
Yeah, I agree.
That's my main nitpick with the movie.
It would be hard to tell a story that realistically unfolds that way because, like, that's the thing is, like, they want the patrons of those things to watch it and enjoy it and be like, when I go there, I'm in real danger. But in reality,
Yep.
they always have these, like, measures, I didn't see any exit signs lit up in any of those
Yeah.
rooms.
Yeah.
Like,
That's about all I have to say
Yeah.
about this, I think,
Yeah.
unless you guys have more.
No.
I'm good to go. Since it's your movie, you can review it first, and then we'll do it.
I'll give it a 5 out of 10. It's like the definition of an average movie. It's not terrible, but it's not like every time I watch it, I like it less and less. I would like it more if the actual haunted house content was more fleshed out and like more realistic, I guess.
Yeah, I'm gonna also give it a 5 out of 10. My favorite scene is the one where she's in the bathroom, and the guy's like going after her. But I do feel like that scene is almost like pretty much ruined by the fact that when she's drying her hair, like her peripheral vision would definitely be able to see his hand, like coming coming at her. Especially on the second and third viewing, I'm just like no. And like the police officer and that would pisses me off too. But whatever.
Yeah, we don't take assault seriously at Hellfest. Welcome to Hellfest.
Welcome to Hellfest. Yeah, if you were recording that and you brought that to like the guest services, which by the way, I made some kind of joke about the guest services. With,
yeah, he was talking about Mike at the guest services.
Yeah, where they like dressed up in the background or something, and they
like that.
shut it on Mike. Anyway, yep. So Tosh, how'd you feel about it?
4 out of 10. I just, like I said, I'm not big on the characters. I do like the idea, but I still wished I had a little bit more information on why, because I kind of like the backstories and the motives as to why they do what they do. And I'm also really peeved that they didn't show who the killer was. Like, I was hoping they would at the end. And then the credits rolled up, so 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
The last thing I'll say about this real quick is the cameo from Tony Todd, the Candyman. That was cool. He was like the guy that did like the decapitating show or whatever.
Okay. I didn't realize.
Yeah. It also showed me a new standard of characters, where the characters literally just pick people up and haul ass with them.
Oh yeah.
There is some ones that they do.
I know. I just thought it was funny. And they were just telling them where they were gonna go. Like they took them by the hands and took them to the houses and stuff. And I was just like, man, this is cool. All right.
Very personal experience at Hellfest.
Yep, absolutely. All right, so the next film is my recommendation, Evil Dead 2013. So this movie's plot goes as follows. I don't want to go too in depth on it because my plot summaries tend to be a little long. But the main, I'm sorry, I need to know people's names so that it's easier to do this. But the main girl, she
Mia.
comes in. Mia, yeah, Mia is like a drug addict. She's OD'd. Her friends have taken her out to this cabin so she can pour the remainder of her stash into a well, vow not to do it again, and then they can be isolated where she can't get any drugs and, purify herself from that. Well, they find this book in the basement along with some dead animals and all that, and yeah, and the scholarly man, he opens the book. And he does not respect the warnings written in blood in the book. And he reads the sentence that invites the demon to come at them, bro. So he does this. The demon comes. There's a lot of squeamish horror to follow. People start dying. Everyone dies except for the girl who is least valuable to society. I'm just kidding. Sorry. Except from our protagonist girl. And yeah, some blood rains down at the end. And she is killed, but he brings her back with like this Walter White car defibrillator that he made. And brings her back. And then he ends up dying. And it has this false ending too, where like he's going in to get the keys by himself. And you're like, oh, this is yeah, this is not good. And he goes in there, and then the best friend is comes and gets him, and yeah. So, anyways, that's Evil Dead 2013. Jake, I'm very, very, very interested. What did you think?
I, I liked it overall. I think it was a good horror movie. The ending, like where you said where the false ending, like when you think the guy is like the final girl or whatever, and he's leaving. Like I was into it, but then everything that happened after that, I just kind of felt it went off the rails a little bit because I thought it was up to that point it was a really gritty, like kind of like you said, squeamish, hard to watch at some points horror movie. But then it kind of went back into more of the tone of like the original, like the Bruce Campbell and Sam Raimi Evil Dead that it was based on. It kind of, because when she like gets the chainsaw and she just has a couple like cheesy one-liners, I just felt like they just kind of switched tone a little bit at the very end. That's
Right.
the only nitpick I'll say about the movie.
Yeah. I with this movie, before I like pull up my official notes, I wanted to say that this movie, when it came out in 2013, was a theatrical experience that surprised both me and Tasha because they did a lot of things that I didn't even know you could get away with in an R-rated movie. Like a lot of critics were saying it pushes the bounds as to what an R-rated movie, like what you can do. But watching it again now, after watching all these movies for this podcast and having just all these classics and all these great movies, I did like it a little less than I used to like it. Like, back when it came out in 2013, I would probably put it in my top 10 favorite movies. I mean, it's dumb in a lot of aspects, a lot of things happen, but I really liked it. It really scared me when I saw it in theaters. I can't. I still, to this day, I still look away when the chick splits her tongue by licking the razor blade, and I just have like so much like empathy, pain for the characters when I see it, and there's so many moments where I'm just like, I don't want to watch this, and I just look away. I actually left the room to go do something else when the dog died scene happened because I just didn't want to see it.
Yeah,
Such a girl.
I like.
Yeah, Tasha makes fun of me when I get all squeamish in the movies.
I like that they didn't linger on the dog death. Like they let it happen and they let you feel like the sadness, but they didn't feel the need to like show the dog die or show him suffer or anything. It's like it's like in that Horror Nights house from last year where they had the half severed dog in the one house, and everyone was mad because you could hear it whimpering. It's like you couldn't hear the dog whimpering, which was that was the touch.
Yeah, that was the Midas touch right there. Yeah, I think that the intro sequence to the movie that has the girl that gets burned alive by her dad has a little bit of cheesy writing to it, but it does set up like the tone really well. But just when they do the daddy mommy thing and it was like that, I was like, this is definitely written for a horror movie, but I just don't see people speaking this way.
I like the misdirection of that because you think that the girl is like
Just
like
normal.
she's like a damsel in distress, and
Yeah.
there's like these crazy hillbillies that are just trying to kill her. That it worked on me. Like I was like, oh, I didn't expect it when like she turns into one of the Deadites.
Yeah.
Or I don't know if that's what they're called in this movie, but that's what I'll call them.
Yeah, and this movie has a lot of those like whoa moments, and that's like right before the credits come on, and she's burning up, and she's like, "Hey, you motherfucker," and stuff like that, and it's like whoa, it's like I love that.
Yeah.
Let me check my notes here. So that was my first note, was the intro sequence. And I've always loved the color grading of this movie. There's something about, like, I like going to cabins and staying there and going fishing and stuff like that. So when I see that, when the grade in the movie looks like that, when it's that cloudy and you're just out there, and it makes me want to go to a cabin myself. And I don't know, I see it and it's just beautiful. Colors are beautiful. I love them.
Yeah, I was really engaged with the movie. Like I was never bored. Until like towards the end, like I said, like I thought the movie did a great job. And it is weird that, I mean, there's that kind of building dread when like that the guy with the glasses, like he unleashed the demon and then the girl's been possessed, but nobody, it's like in the horror movie where nobody believes the main character, and then they slowly find out. So like that built up pretty well, and like the gore was done well. Like when the the nurse woman that's the first to turn, like other than the main character, when she stabs the guy with the glasses like in his
In the
eye, or
eye.
like right under his eye with the syringe, and it's like that shot of him pulling it out, the needle out, like
Yeah.
that was pretty gruesome
The
too.
practical effects in this movie are pretty good. I know that they have the
Yeah.
CGI fire at the beginning and they kind of open up with that, but I thought a lot of the practical stuff was really cool. Like when the chick is like washing her hand in the sink and all these like clumps of blood like come out of the holes in her hand
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
and stuff, and I'm like, man, these people know what they're doing with practical effects. Like the people working on this movie, so.
Yeah, and well, as far as references to the original, I thought they did like the perfect job in like this movie was completely its own thing. Like it didn't have any of the same characters. It other than the Book of the Dead, it didn't really even have any of the same beats.
Right.
But it would pull subtle references, like the necklace the girl had was the same necklace that Ash gave Linda in the original, or it was like the same design, and like they do like when the girl cuts her hand off, that's a direct reference, and there's my favorite shot is like when the guy runs into the shed, and it's like it just pans to the red chainsaw, and you're like, oh, he's gonna turn into Ash, and then it just pans up, and he gets like I don't remember what he gets, but he doesn't get the chainsaw. So I like that it was just kind of subverted your expectation because you think he's gonna
Right.
turn into Ash, and he doesn't.
Yeah. Yep. I liked that too. Man, that was a detailed description of that. I love it. My favorite shot of the movie is actually in the part that you said you don't like. That's my favorite part of the movie, and that's okay. But my favorite part is like when it starts raining blood, and I'm thinking Slayer. It's like, and they're gonna monetize the whole video now. No, just kidding. But
I don't think that was intelligible.
yeah, true. But like one thing that bothers me, and these are just really subtle things, is like when the car, like when she's got the super strength, which is fine, super demon strength is fine. But when she's like raising the car, and then it cuts to like the other girl that's underneath the car. Like I'm just thinking about how long her arm has to be in order to still be like have her hand on the top doing that, and it just made me think of like Pennywise or something just going like.
Oh yeah, yeah.
um, yeah. And then she rips her own arm off and says a cheesy line when she does it, and I'm like, man, I don't know if I'd be joking if I just ripped my arm off. But that was the second arm that had been ripped off in a really similar way. I always laugh at the part where she says like, "Don't cut it off," and then the girl like cuts her arm off, and she thinks it's so funny. She's using the reverse psychology on her.
Yeah, like that was I did like that subversion too, because like when the blonde girl cuts her hand off earlier, you think that's the reference to like the evil hand scene from Evil Dead 2, I think it was. But then yeah, like you get that second and you're like, "Oh, this is much more gruesome," cuz she's literally ripping her hand off.
Yeah, because
Like you see the tendons and everything.
Yeah, ugh, she can't reach the chainsaw. I'm just like, man, you should have just moved faster out of the way of that car.
Yeah, and she should not have picked the chainsaw. Like she should have picked the machete that the girl like tried to.
Yeah, something with one hand you
Oh.
can use.
Oh god, I also hate the part where like she's hiding behind the thing and the knife goes through her leg. And it
Yeah.
like pulls it out. It's just like, there's so many parts
You're
like that.
such a girl, man.
You just have no empathy. You see that and you're like,
It's a movie.
you don't. But when you see characters do that, you don't feel anything.
Nope.
Okay, well, dang.
It did feel a little like it wasn't as bad as like Saw or Hostel or one of those, but it felt like it definitely was inspired by that like level of gore where it was just like gratuitous gore for the sake of gore, which kind
Yeah.
of like I mean that is a reference to the original too. It's just the
Yeah.
effects are much better now
Yeah,
than they
and
were back then.
for me, that's just what the doctor ordered when I watched this movie. Like, that's what I want. You know, like it's okay. That it is just that. I think it does excellent with what it's trying to do. It's trying to set a certain tone of like high intensity horror, of like really squeamish. Like most of the stuff, in my opinion, the practical effects are better than most of the Saw movies that have the similar like gross out like torture stuff. This I think this movie does better than most of those with that concept, but also not embellishing it too much, like making you feel the squeamies, but then moving on instead of just trying to milk it dry completely.
Yeah, and the one thing I did like at this, I liked the brother sister dynamic between Mia and
David.
Dave Ash Jr. whatever his name is.
God.
Like just the tension over like the death of the mother, and then the Mia was the one that was there, and he like just that tension between siblings I think was very well observed and done well. Like, and it gave some stakes to the story that weren't there in the original at all.
I love the scene where she looks at David and whispers to him that she thinks that somebody else is here. Like, the acting in that scene I thought was amazing, because if I tried to do that, if I was trying to do that in the scene, it would be the funniest shit ever. Because, like, you have to be able to put everything out there and also do well to do a scene like that. Where she's like, I need to get out of here. I'm just like, ooh, every single time. It's like the moment in The Conjuring where she's, like, pointing to the corner and, pointing at the entity. It gives me that same vibe of creepiness.
Yeah.
And she just looks, the look on her face, she just looks completely scared out of her mind. And it makes you feel that way.
Yeah, the Mia did a great job, like being a real human, and then being like the evil demonic version as well. Like she did well in both.
Yeah. Okay. I have two more notes here. So one thing I like about this movie is I feel like that they try to leave at the right time. Like, they don't try to leave too late or too early. It's about the time that I would leave as well. They have a good logical reason of being there. And I love that this movie explains, like, at least tries to explain why they're there and what they're doing there, and gives a great reason to resist leaving despite shit happening. Because if they're just there for like a party weekend or something, and a few things happen like that are pretty bad, you kind of imagine that in real life like you would leave, but they have a good reason of trying to persist a little too long.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
And I also think it gives a great like reason for them to gaslight the girl that Mia, because she's going through withdrawal. So it also gives another excellent explanation for that. In fact, I think that's the best explanation for that gaslighting and that thing that you see in every horror movie that I've ever seen.
Yeah, you're right. That was a great plot device. It was like the perfect plot device to get them to make them go to the cabin to begin with, and to keep them there.
Yeah. Like,
and not have them leave. Like that. You're right. That was perfect.
Yeah, and this isn't in my notes, but I wanted to say this. I think that this movie, when I'm watching it, I almost feel like it's like one of the plots happening in Cabin in the Woods. Like, how at the end of that movie they have like all the monitors and all these people like doing like it feels like a Cabin in the Woods like experience that characters in that universe would have to me.
No, that's true. Yeah.
Because they get the book, they open it, they read it, and then the other guys are like, "Oh, we won the bet," or whatever.
I hate that movie.
I know you do.
I was gonna maybe recommend it soon, but I won't.
I love it. I want to talk about it.
I mean, you can. I'll watch it again, but
the commentary track on that movie is like bomb. But not to get too far away from Evil Dead 2013.
Anyways.
Yeah. So, anything else that I needed to say? What about you guys? Any closing remarks before we move into reviews?
Yeah, I had two. Like, the one part when he was like, when he kicked the gas can and it exploded the cabin, I feel like since Mia was like right at the door, it should have blew her away, and she was just like just standing there. That kind of irritated me. And then when he was trying to bring her back to life, he still had the bag over her face. It's like,
Yeah,
I was like, that's not going to really help you.
That was-
really.
Yeah, like
That was driving
take that
Tosh
off,
and-
bud.
I was driving Tosh nuts. But also, she comes back to life and fucking stands immediately. So he turns around. He didn't hear her get up. He didn't hear the bag coming off of her head.
He didn't hear the blanket coming off of her. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
weird.
and though I don't know if it was intentional, but like the way they shot that, I was like, oh, she's actually a deadite. But you know how they pretend to be like
Yeah.
the regular person. I was even until the credits rolled, I was expecting her to turn evil again, and I would have liked that more. That's the reason why I don't like the ending. Is I just even in a supernatural movie like this where anything goes, just the fact that he was able to bring her back to life completely unharmed like normal, I didn't like that, because it's like if it's a possession and they're inhabiting the body, like this was the girl that licked the knife and split her whole tongue in half. Her tongue should still be split in half. She should be barely alive if
Yeah.
she was brought. Like, I don't like
Yeah.
how she's magically healed. That's the part that I didn't like about the ending.
Agreed.
Yeah, and this movie definitely, in some points, treats you kind of like an idiot. Like, I'm not going to take credit for this observation, but Adam from Your Movie Sucks, he pointed out that they shoot like a plastic jar or something and it explodes like it's glass. I don't know, something like that.
Okay.
And I'm just like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of parts in this movie like that where it just kind of treats you like you'll just accept everything. But overall, I mean, the characters themselves put up with a lot of pain.
Yeah, especially the glasses guy, that's the guy that should feel the most pain because it's his fault all this is happening.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention to the podcast people, this is my favorite trailer of all time. If you guys haven't seen the trailer for this movie, go watch it. It's freaking incredible. It's so good.
But the book clearly stated, you leave this book alone, and he still
Right.
just kept on. And then when he was trying to burn it, you can't burn dark magic. I'm sorry, you just can't.
Yeah, if he's Mr. Scholarly and he's just like, oh, I know all this Latin and I know about the
Yeah.
dark arts, and then it's like, yeah, you should know that you should know you shouldn't say those words.
Yeah.
Yes, seriously.
Yeah, which was one thing that's funny is back in 2013, like, his garb, he was supposed to look like kind of like a nerdy, guy, but like most of the stuff he was wearing, like his glasses and all those things, are like cool now. So you see him and he's like supposed to be one character, and then I don't know, I get that vibe when I watch it.
Yeah, he just
But-
looks like any hipster mid-30s guy now.
Yeah, he looks like a hipster that wants to look like a lager or something.
Anything else?
No, I mean,
good.
I'm good for my review.
Jake?
I guess I get to review it first since
Yeah, go ahead, Mike. It's your movie.
this is my movie. So, man, if you would have asked me in 2013 when I first saw this movie, I would have given it like a 10 or maybe a 9, but probably a 10. But this time around, there was a lot of things I didn't like about it and all that, but I'm still going to give it a solid 8. It's actually close to a 7. It's closer to a 7 than it is a 9, so it's like a low 8 for me. But that's where I'm going to put it. I like the grading. I like the ideas. It still makes me squeamish to watch. It scares me in some good ways. I feel like the intensity is high. I like the score a lot. I like the music used and how it's minimal. The scene after she crashes the car where the thing possesses her. That's brutal and awful, and I see that and it's Jesus. And that scene is the first one that comes to my mind when I think of this movie. Both that one and the one where it rains blood in the end. And in the theater, I was like, because you could make a music video and just use clips from this movie, because this movie is metal as hell. This is the second most metal horror movie I've ever seen, behind The Devil's Candy.
The Devil's Candy.
Hell
Devil's
yeah.
Candy, yeah.
Hell yeah. This one's probably number 2. I mean, it's everything that's cool about demons and like the genre, but also mixed with the whole torture thing that was cool back in 2013. So, yeah, I like it. I like it a lot more than a lot of like people that I see online review this movie. So,
You did?
yep.
Okay.
Go ahead, Tasha.
So I did like this I mean, this is not like one of my favorite possession movies. Actually, now it's probably one of my least favorites. So I'm giving it a 6. I don't know. The more times I watch it, the more I get bored with it. Nothing new really
Fair.
gets me. So
Okay. You're
so
wrong.
6. All right, Jake. Short and sweet.
I'm gonna give it an 8, the same as Mike. It was a good movie on its own, and just the fact that it is a remake, I think that like this can't get enough credit for taking the source material, keeping like some of the same beats, but completely reinventing it, changing the tone, changing like the plot in general, and like but also having like the perfect amount of nods and references to the source material. Like I think it just did that like the best that I've ever seen a remake or reboot do.
Mm-hmm.
It's just my main gripe. Like I was into the movie the whole time, but just the ending, like her coming back to life, I already said I kind of had a problem with, and just it kind of switches tone, and she kind of becomes Ash for a minute when she has the chainsaw, and she literally cuts the demon girl in half, and she says like something bitch or what, like Freddy Krueger or something. So it's like I just thought it switched tone in like the last 10 minutes, and I was just like, just keep it a gritty movie to the end. And like to that point, like I think this is a better movie than like the original Evil Dead or Evil Dead 2 probably, but just the tone, it's too like gloomy and like doom and gloomy for me. Like it's not my type of movie. I'm more into the campy kind of lighthearted, stupid horror. So I think I still prefer the originals for sure, but as its own movie, this was a very good horror movie.
Awesome. I totally agree with everything there. I just had a quick comment too. I have to give this movie props for taking a risk. Because yes, it's going to make money either way because it's got the Evil Dead name on it. But they could have just cashed in and been lazy and just done the same movie again. And like you said, they chose... This is what I wish every, one that uses the old names, old horror movie names would do, is just try something new. Like use the idea and do something different with it rather than just trying to remake it. But
yep, agreed.
All right. So I guess now we can transition to It Chapter 1. So I know that we're probably going to be mentioning, parts of both movies during both of these reviews. I will try to keep my thoughts contained to each movie as we go, but overlap, I think, with these two will occur. So I just wanted to say that.
We'll do the review of part 1 before we talk about part 2, or are we going to do them both at the end? Okay.
We'll do that like we have been.
Yeah, we'll do part 1 and then part 2, and we'll try to segment as much as we can, because I do want to talk about stark differences between the two. Neither one of us recommended either one. I think that if you want, one of us can do the summary of the first one, and the other one can do the summary of the second one. Tosh, if you would like to take one, that's fine. Okay, that's cool. These movies are very complicated, so I think I'm just going to skip most of the plot and just go over the very, very bones of it. Do you mind if I do Chapter 1, Jake, and you can do Chapter 2?
Go for it.
Okay. All right. So they all live in Derry, and Pennywine lives there, and he's like the Marvel Cinematic Universe leader of all like horror within Stephen King's imagination. So yeah, I mean that's the best way I can describe that. He manifests himself as each person's greatest fear, or at least greatest fear that looks good on a camera. And so the characters see him individually, and when they're at their most vulnerable, and the characters are trying to both simultaneously find Georgie, but also find a way to put an end to Pennywine. I feel like that is part of their motivation. What?
You keep saying Pennywine.
Oh, Pennywise. Yeah. All right. So I should have made the logo pop up on the screen real big when I say that. Anyways, they do that, and then at the end of the movie, they achieve their goal, and they stab him in the back of the head, and then he goes and fucks off for 27 years. And I skipped a lot, but that's pretty much the bullet points, spark notes.
I don't know. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
It takes 12 hours to get through that.
Yeah. I have so many notes for this movie, so I'm going to try to address them quickly.
I actually didn't really take many notes. I feel like I've watched this movie probably 6 or 7 times since it came out. I feel like I know enough to be able to talk about my favorite parts and stuff.
Oh God, he's got a lot for it. Chapter 2.
Yeah, I was showing Tosh on my screen. God. Yeah, chapter 1 I don't actually have as many as I thought, so I'm just gonna shotgun a few of these because we're getting up to 45 minutes, and if you're still watching, thank you, because we suck. But that's okay, just me. I think that the first sequence of the movie that has Georgie with the boat is one of the best sequences in either movie of the two.
Yeah, sure.
The only scene that I think is better is the projection scene. But even then, you could argue that the first sequence is more complete and more of a conceptual scare than just the jump scare where it gets all big and stuff. I laugh when he runs into the fence, so I did the first time I saw it in theaters too, when that little kid is chasing his boat and he doesn't see
yeah.
I say fence, but I don't.
It's the construction A-frame thing.
Construction post, we'll say. Yeah, that makes me laugh.
And you talking about me having no empathy?
Yeah, that's true. The mountain shots remind me of West Virginia. That makes me happy. Yay. I hate watching Beverly's dad. He's a creep, and I hate that is in there. I get why, and it's you take it seriously, and it's awful. But it just makes me so uncomfortable to see it in a movie like that portrayed that way. Yeah. Oof.
Which I don't. I'll talk about the book a little bit. I don't think they are as overt in the book that he sexually abuses her. Tasha, I don't remember.
I haven't read the book, honestly.
Oh, okay. I thought you had. Sorry. So I won't spoil the differences then.
She's a huge Stephen King fan, but she hasn't read it yet.
I'm waiting on my brother to read it with him. So.
Okay. Yeah. So here's my next note: fucking kids leave their bikes in the middle of the street the whole movie. They even
we've
do it
always
in chapter
said
2. Yeah, we've always said that. But I'm not gonna go too much into chapter 2. But it pisses me off even more in chapter 2 because they're adults and they're just leaving their bikes in the middle of the road, and it's not a dirt road. It's definitely a road that anybody can drive on to go anywhere.
Right.
I never did that as a kid. I never left my bike in the road so that it would stop traffic.
I did one time. I went over to my friend's house and I left my bike behind, in front of the garage. And then my friend's mom, went out to go to the store and ran my bike over it. I felt so bad. It didn't mess her car up though, so it was all right.
That's good.
Yeah. Yes. The hole in the floor when they go into the house that has Pennywine in it. Pennywise in it. God, you guys, it's not that funny.
It's hilarious.
It reminded me of Half-Life Alyx because you look down and it's got the hole, and it just gave me that feel where it was exactly like that game. So, you know what? This is embarrassing to admit. I just realized today, after probably the 4th or 5th viewing of this long ass movie, that the girl that pours trash, or was part the leader of the group of girls that pours trash on Beverly, is the girl that signs his cast when he goes to the. Because it's an hour apart, and I just didn't recognize
and she never comes
her.
back.
Yeah, and so the only reason I did this time was because I couldn't be asked. So I watched this movie at triple speed because I'd seen it already, and I picked up on everything. I gave it 100% attention. But yeah.
Well, did you realize that she is the pharmacist's daughter too?
Yeah, right. I didn't pick up on that until, and that was another thing is when they do the Bev thing with the Lois Lane. And you know what's interesting is I've watched some of the special features on the 4K Blu-ray on this one, and in an interview, Beverly, just talks about how it's weird working with the kids because so much younger than her, but they're not. She says that in the interview, and then I looked it up because I was like, what? Really? And then so I looked it up, and they're all like the same age. So I don't know why she's saying that.
Or maybe
she might be like a few months older than
or
like.
maybe they act younger than what she meant.
Well,
Yeah, I mean,
feel like
girls tend to mature faster and stuff.
Yeah,
but,
maturity level.
But like, no, the way she says it, she's like, these are children, and I'm not. That's what she says. And I was like,
Okay.
yes, I mean, just being the only girl with that group of boys. I mean, I'm sure Tasha could speak to it. I feel like it would just be weird.
Honestly, I've been around just boys my whole life, so I'm not the best person. Because I have 2 brothers, and I don't have any girls in my family, so I'm not the best candidate for that.
and yeah, and I can make fun of her because she's a bully, but the character that did the loser thing, when it panned between her being at the school and her being in September, I feel like she got fatter in the summertime.
Yeah.
You know?
And to say another fuck you to that girl, she still works at that pharmacy 27 years later,
Yep.
dumb bitch.
Yeah, the time did not treat her as well as the main
No,
characters, who all look like movie stars and are rich and famous. All of them.
At least Ben is not leaking Hamburger Helper in the second part.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think the one thing I think the first movie did like perfect was the casting and the chemistry of the kids, which and I think even like the humor in the first one works very well because they were kids. Like that's how kids talk. It felt very
Real.
kind of like it felt very real and true to life. And it's like I just sense that the whole story is about like coming of age and like fighting like your literal demons and stuff and like growing up. Like that's how kids, I feel like the humor and the stupidity, that's how they would deal with the traumatic situation.
Right.
Like in just and how they repress it later and stuff. Like I thought that was well observed and done well. And I think I think I like the Pennywise character. I think he's really creepy. My biggest gripe with this series as a whole is just their over-reliance on CGI. Like, everything, especially in part 2, is CGI.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like, it doesn't need to be.
Yeah. It can be, like, really over the top. Sometimes it gives me, like, literal Doctor Strange vibes. Which, if you remember, the first thing I said when we exited the theater to see Chapter 2 in Orlando was, that was like a Marvel movie as like a horror movie.
Yeah, it was way.
Because it was watered down so much, but the tone and the jokes and the humor, like it really reminded me of the Marvel tone and just everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, see, we're already talking about Chapter 2. Dang it!
Well, I have a note to add to that, but I'll wait till we get to Chapter 2.
Okay. All right. We're almost. I think we're almost done with Chapter 1 already.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a creative choice I do not understand, and maybe you guys can elaborate. But why did they decide to kill the bully in Chapter 1 and then backtrack on it later? Because that's what it seems to me must be so. Is because the way that he fell down and bumped on the walls on the way down really felt like that was a twist. I saw that in theaters. I did not expect that. I didn't know how they were going to get rid of him without killing him. At that moment when he attacked what was the kid's name? I don't
Mike.
know. Yeah, they attacked Mike. So yeah, I don't know. Do you guys have any insight on why they did that?
No, I don't. But they didn't kill him off on the original until the second part, which was weird that they did that on this one.
Yeah, I just thought he wouldn't be back.
Yeah, I won't spoil it. The book does give like reasons and it makes more sense, but like to your point, like if you're gonna literally kill him off in the movie in the first part, just leave it there.
Out.
Yeah, especially because in part 2 he doesn't do anything. Which we'll talk about that, I guess, later.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a weird choice. and I don't have any other weird choices, but yeah, like it was weird that they brought him back in part two.
Agreed.
Yeah, and even the scares that happen at the house are much better in this movie than they are in part two. Um, I don't understand how Stephen King writes bullies that are just so over the top cruel, but he does, man. He must have encountered some
Well,
real.
you gotta think about it. Stephen King isn't it from a different time than we are, so you never
Yeah,
know.
maybe.
Bullies could be 10 times worse back in his time than ours.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. All right, that's all I got for it. Chapter
Jake,
one.
do you have
Oops, sorry.
anything for it? Chapter 1?
No, but like we'll say in part two, like Mike said, the scares in this movie work really well.
Yeah.
Like especially the projector in the garage scene is the obvious standout, but like even the scene in the house when shit, is that in the never mind, I'm thinking of the second one with the like the spider head. That was cool. I did like that from part two. When Stanley's head comes out of the fridge and it sprouts the legs and stuff.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it reminded me also of the head crabs in Half-Life Alex. Like, because Half-Life Alex has head crabs. And Half-Life Alex came out after these two movies, to be clear.
Maybe that's where they
I'm
get
just
their
saying,
idea from.
like, there's so many
I think they-
inspirations from it.
They stole it from The Thing, I think, too, because in that movie the
Yeah.
guy's head sprouts spider legs
right.
too.
Yeah.
Alright, so ratings. So since you did the synopsis, you want to do yours first?
Sure. So almost every great moment of both movies are in this movie. It's far superior to the second one. It scares me. It uses jump scares effectively. It doesn't overuse them in this one. I mean, there's a lot of them, but most of them have a nice build and, make sense and just enhance the experience. So yeah, I mean, I liked the individual scares. I liked like the gross thing going for the one kid. I liked, the young Jewish kid that had, the painting thing coming after him. It really just reminds you of like little things that you might have been afraid of when you were a kid that just didn't matter, like pictures and paintings and stuff like that. So yeah, you just get this is what childhood feels like kind of vibe to it, and yeah, it I think it hits the nail on the head with what it's going for. As far as score goes, I think I'm going to give this one a 9 out of 10. I think it's really good. I don't think it's perfect, and I think that it, because it's so long, I do think it has a lot time it wastes, and there's a lot of deleted scenes that I wish would have been in the movie that has some like cool things in it. But yeah, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10.
Okay, I think I'm going to go with an 8 out of 10. I really like the chemistry of the kids. Like, they feel like feel like friends, and how they stick together trying to defeat Pennywise. And of course, my favorite scene was at the very beginning. I really like that. I feel like it's really scary. So 8.
All right, Jake.
I'm gonna give it a 9 out of a 10 as well. I think it is a really good movie, and where part one of just the story in general, like not just this movie, the book and the original miniseries too, like the stuff with the kids works so much better. Just like it, I don't know what it is, but just it's like this movie does well with the scares and the clown and stuff, but I want to be in the world, and like I care about the kids, and I like just when they're like making fun of each other and just hanging out, like I'm into that movie too. Like they do waste some time in this movie, but I'm fully invested the whole time because I just like this universe of the kids and and Pennywise, and I want to spend as much time there as I can. And obviously the director does, because most of the second movie has the kids in it. But no, yeah, it's a good movie. My one gripe is just I wish they would have done more some of the stuff more practical and given Bill Skarsgård, who played Pennywise, more time to actually act and be creepy rather than just having like a CGI like thing run at the camera type.
Agreed.
I just wish they would have given him more time, like Tim Curry had, to actually be creepy and weird.
Your review always makes me remember like a couple comments that I forgot to say. So one thing, real quick, is one thing we didn't praise this movie for that we should, just because it's such a given with this one, everybody knows it, is they did so well with the design of Pennywise as an actual character. Like, just the way that he looks in this one is so creepy, and the creepiest clown that I've ever seen.
He's more darker in this one than compared to the miniseries.
Right. It doesn't look like,
sure.
Just a regular clown. And also, like, the teeth, and, like, just the
razor-sharp teeth.
Yeah, the razor-sharp teeth, and, like, in the end, with the dancing scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's, this movie does know how to play with that, what is that called when it's on the edge of being real and not being real, and it's like the zone of scary?
Surreal?
No,
I guess.
No. It's there's a word for it, where it's like just real enough, but it's not real enough, and it makes it scary.
I don't know.
I don't know the word.
Okay, well, shoot. Anyways, okay. Want to go to It Chapter 2?
Yeah, let's go.
All right. It Chapter 2. By the end of it, maybe I'll think of the word. And then everybody in the comments is like, this is the word. All right, Jake, take it away.
So, It Chapter 2 picks up 27 years after the first part. Pennywise is back because that's his feeding cycle every 27 years. More kids and people start dying in Derry, so Mike Hanlon, the one guy that stayed in Derry his whole life, calls the rest of the Losers Club to come back, which they all do, except Stan, who kills himself because he's too scared. And then they just kind of waste basically 2 hours just walking around Derry and having little vignettes where they all pick up a token for no apparent reason, and there's some cheesy jump scares that don't really work. There's some shitty humor that kind of diffuses any type of tension or terror that you would feel for these characters, and then they spend 45 minutes down in the dungeon fighting a giant CGI spider clown.
Having their own, like, individual acid trips.
Yeah. And, well, the first thing I'll say is, like, I don't know what the fuck happened with this movie. It was the same director, like, the same crew, the same team, everything.
Such a good cast, too. Like, it was,
yeah.
Everybody was so well casted.
No.
What?
Who didn't you like?
The guy who played on Glass, I did not like him playing Bill.
What?
I thought he was... No.
He was all right, but yeah, you're right. Like, something about him just... I don't know if it was just...
click for some... I don't know. I did not like...
Huh.
Yeah, I see what you're saying there. He was the one, like, he was my least favorite out of the adults.
Everybody else was fine.
Huh. Well, do you think he was just miscast? Because I feel like that guy might be, like, one of the best actors working nowadays.
That is a good role for him.
Yeah, like, I don't know if it was just because Bill's like the straight man, like, he doesn't really get a lot of the jokes, and he doesn't get to have as much fun as the other characters, but it's just like, I didn't care about him, like, in this movie. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I don't think it was the actor. Like, he did fine, but it
might be because he doesn't have that Georgie motive like he did the last movie.
Well, he does a little bit, which, like, I mean, yes, it's sad your brother died, but I feel like he would have grieved and been able to move on.
He would have to move on.
Yeah. Well, that's what they gave him the other kid that kept coming back, which is so funny when he was shaking that kid at the Chinese place. And he was just quoting, like, one of his works.
Yeah, but, like, that's one of my gripes with this movie is they wanted to up the body count and have Pennywise kill people. They couldn't have him kill the losers, obviously.
Yeah.
So they just made these random, like, the gay couple in the beginning, which that was more of a social commentary than anything, I think.
Yeah. I thought that was part of the past, but that was, like, modern day, and I was like, oh, shit.
Yeah, like, Derry's fucked up.
Yeah, God.
But, like, the two kids were, like, they just didn't need to be in there. Like the girl with under the bleachers and the kid from the Chinese place, they just did not need to be in the movie for me.
I thought a lot of those were the best moments, though, where we were away from the Losers Club.
Honestly, for me, the whole second chapter just blows. Like, I wish they could have just instantly just cut it.
Yeah.
Even in the original, I felt that way. I think a lot of it too, I wish the trailer wouldn't spoil a lot of the good moments in the movie.
Yeah, are you talking about like the old woman in the apartment
Yeah.
scene? Yeah. Yeah, that was
like
probably that would have been the best scare in this movie, but you're right. The trailer like showed that entire scene.
Exactly.
Yeah. I do feel like that the trailer took too much away from the real experience of the movie by showing that, because it is like the best part. Whereas, yes, they did release the whole first scene of the movie ahead of time, but for some reason, for me, I feel like that was better because first of all, the movie starts out with it, and second of all, it's not the whole like one of the only good parts of the first movie. So it doesn't feel as bad that was spoiled for us ahead of time.
Yeah, for sure.
I have tons and tons of notes. I'm going to try to get through some of them. Before I move on to another topic, do you have anything else about the old lady?
No?
No, just again the same problem from the first one. Like, why did she have to be completely CGI? Like that was not scary, and just like it, that was just. I'd laughed when it just you see like the naked woman like kind of shimmying
Yeah.
through the kitchen door. I'm like, is this supposed to be scary?
Yeah, there's some moments like that. It's weird that they all grew up to do interesting jobs. Like one's a famous writer, and the other one's like a famous comedian, and the kid that ended up killing himself was obviously wealthy because he had like big
Nice
house and like there was a risk assessor, and then Mike is just like, I'm just gonna chill here, dude.
Well, that is a bigger point in the book and makes more sense. I'll say that.
Okay. The kids didn't report all the dead bodies in the first one, so like, all these people are here with families that might want closure, but they don't like say anything about that.
But I guess they show that scene in this movie when they show that Henry Bowers is still alive and they show all the bodies coming out of the pipe. I assume they would be identified because they'd wash down the river eventually.
Yeah, they sort of just didn't. I guess they didn't investigate because they could have probably easily found Pennywise's like area there. It's all the carnival things. They're like, what the fuck is happening
Right.
underneath the dairy?
And unless like they did kind of hint at that in the first one, like only the kids can see some of the Pennywise stuff. Maybe if like the adults went down there, they would just see like a bunch of trash.
Yeah.
They wouldn't see all the Pennywise shit.
Yeah, and here's another thing too. One thing a movie can sometimes get praised for is like how accurate the adults portray the kid characters, but like in reality, people change when they grow up. So in movies, you want it to be super clear who's who and their personalities, but after people go through puberty, they often end up being somebody different than they were before. And so I just thought that's weird. I think that's just a general movie problem, though. Because if you made them different, then one, it would be confusing, and two, you wouldn't get as many props for following the character, or passing the character over from one movie to another. So, anyways, this movie kind of brings that front and center.
Yeah, and I think like that was a big motif that I don't think even Stephen King did very well. Is like the whole point of the adults coming back is just kind of they're trying to like regain that childlike innocence, and like they have to do that in order to defeat Pennywise. And they show that in this movie, but they don't really explain. Like if they had told me that's why Eddie talks like he's a fucking 12-year-old kid and just says stuff a normal adult wouldn't say, I would have believed it. But like the movie doesn't give me any reason to think that. It's just like I know that from watching the miniseries and reading the book type of thing.
Yeah. Good point. All good points. Let's see. Oh yeah, thoughts on Stephen King's cameo. Did it remind you of Stan Lee in Marvel movies?
No.
I haven't watched too many Marvel movies, but yes, it was a very gratuitous, unnecessary cameo.
They
Sort
definitely
of.
could have been cut. But Stephen King's usually in every movie,
Yeah.
for the most part.
This movie has too many jump scares, in my opinion. And they don't earn them all like they did in the first one. A lot of them feel really cheap, and there's many more I think in this one because they were trying to like up the perceived scare factor without doing the work of like conceptual horror. Um, Two crackheads dead in fire. LOL. That's what I wrote. I
How it's
laughed
like
in the
that?
theater when that
Fucked
came
up.
up on screen. You remember that? You were saying that
Yep.
to me. I'm just like, ah! Just because it was so brazen. It's just like so mean for like, yeah.
Yeah, like I guess it was like that would be the like Pennywise changed that to hurt Mike, but yeah, it was just funny.
Yeah, it was
It's
so
just dumb.
funny. It was. Um, oh yeah, we already mentioned this, but even as an adult, he leaves his bike in the road. The set where they did the ritual feels so artificial to me. Like the texture of those like background pillar looking things look like super cheap and super like plasticky and shiny, and it looks like a set, like a lot.
Yeah.
You guys
And-
agree with that?
Yeah, I can
Yeah,
see
and
that.
They just spent way too much time down in the sewer. Like,
Yes.
and I think the one of the big problems with this movie is they didn't like get the losers together as much as they should. There was too many like little vignettes where like Beverly would go off and see the old lady, or Ben would go to the school or whatever. It's like, no, like have them together and interacting and having chemistry. Like the Chinese restaurant scene was probably
But-
my favorite in
yeah.
the whole movie, honestly. Like
Agreed.
that was the most fun I had, is because they were just interacting like and getting to
Like-
play off each other and acting in general, you know?
Yeah.
Just like old times, they were just,
Yeah.
the chemistry.
Yeah, from that scene in the beginning, that you're so right on that. Because from that scene, I thought the movie in theaters was going to be way better than it ended up being. Because I was like, oh, I'm into this. Like the characters are still, they have some really funny dialogue. The writing is really good, and they try to do the same when they go to that little like, tree house. But then they spend way too much time on the kids at that time.
Right.
And you don't even really get to know the adults too well and any of the changes. And like I liked when they talked about some of their lives outside of Derry too, like when they were just discussing that stuff in general.
Yeah.
Sucks that one guy died because like I remember his wife being like, "Oh, where are you going?" He's like, "I have to go to Derry" or something like that. So,
Oh, Eddie, like the one that dies in the cave.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Which
bad for her.
that was a joke I appreciated, was that they cast the same woman that played Eddie's mom as a kid to be his wife. Like they
Yeah.
just put a different wig on her. I thought that was so funny.
That was fun.
I didn't know. That's funny. Your mom.
Like that was a nice touch because he was such a mama's boy. He
Oh,
definitely
for
would marry a
sure.
woman that looked just like his mother.
Oh, yeah.
I'm glad the ritual didn't work. That would be lame. That's what I put.
Well, like I think I said in the theater when I was watching it the first time, because they kept showing that something had been scratched out of the little leather like basket thing.
hmm
I kept thinking that like they'd completely changed the story and Pennywise had like possessed Mike in order to lure them all down there. Because it
Oh,
was just
yeah.
like, why would Mike send them down there when he knew they were all going to die? They just don't really explain that at all.
I have a feeling that there's a lot of deleted scenes in this movie that would have revealed more about that subplot. Because when that happens right there, I don't feel like I have all the information. Because I feel like that the characters are mad at Mike when they shouldn't be. Because I'm not feeling that anything was building up to that. I didn't feel any hints in the story or the script. And that felt like it came out of left field that they chose to go in that direction.
Yeah. And it was like it felt like a plot device, like the whole middle act of the movie when they're each going off on their little vignettes to collect their tokens or whatever that they need for the ritual. That just felt like a way to like, all right, how do we have a shit ton of flashbacks to bring the kids back into this movie? And that just
Yeah.
felt like that's why they did that. And I just
And
wish they
separate
would.
them.
Yeah, I just wish they would have had the confidence to like maybe have a couple scenes that call back to the kids, but like yeah, the kids were really popular in the first movie and that's a lot of what the appeal was, but just have the confidence that the second movie just make it be about the adults. Don't make the kids such a big part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Especially since you had to CGI most of their faces and it's very obvious.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like one of the best scenes in the movie. It was also spoiled for me before I even saw the movie, and it was the one with the mirrors. So as soon as I even saw that kid in the movie, I knew he was going to die because I saw him die before I even saw the movie. And then
Yeah.
like, you got him rocking back and forth. I love that scene where he's like rocking and then he like bangs his face on the glass and breaks it. I'm like, man, this is awesome. I just would like to have seen more of that sort of horror and not, in the let's see. Yeah. Oh yeah. That's also the ritual trippy scene. He drugged his friend, and then he saw what he wanted him to see. But I still didn't. I didn't completely understand where Mike got that, which I don't think it's super relevant. But also why he thought it would work, like what he was basing that belief on, and how he put the story together. I didn't get how this would lead to this would lead to this. I just needed more explanation there.
Yeah, again, not to spoil the book, but I mean, they completely changed this part from the book. Like, it's almost unrecognizable, the second part of the book. But the book, I mean, the second part is what it is, but it does a lot better job of explaining things in the book, obviously.
Okay.
All right, last note, and then we can have like a little, or at least I'll switch to free roam mode. Horror movies typically have a low budget, so they have to be creative about working around CGI, using it sparingly. This movie doesn't feel like it had to make any of those decisions, and I think it's to its detriment. It made so much money in the first one, more than any horror movie has ever made, that they made it into a Marvel movie. They made it, like, when you have those sequences where they zoom out and then they rotate the camera because you like laid back and stuff like that. I'm like, this is cool, but it's bringing me out of this scary, I'm in the sewers vibe. And they diffuse the tension constantly. It's like they want to. It's like the first one was such a big success that they wanted to make a movie for everyone rather than just a movie for horror fans or like most horror movies are. And so it really feels watered down to me as a direct result of that. Because, like, the whole scary, not scary door, they made a joke in the first one about it, but they didn't make the whole scare a joke. They didn't, like, make the whole thing, like, where it's the dog, and then the other thing, it's like, next time we're going to do regular scary. And that whole thing just felt like such a waste. It didn't make me scared. It made me chuckle a little bit, but, like, I'm not watching this movie to chuckle. I want to be scared like I was in the Funhouse.
Yeah, there's so much like that. That's my biggest gripe with this movie is like they don't let any of the scary moments be scary. They have to have a shitty joke that's not funny. The worst of that is when Henry Bowers comes in and stabs Eddie in the cheek, and Eddie kills him, and then he goes, "Shave that mullet. It's been 30 years, asshole." I'm like, I fucking hate that. It makes me so mad every time. Like,
yeah.
He's an adult man that was just stabbed in the face. He would not say that.
No, absolutely. You're super right. I don't know why the movie wants to do that. It feels like if Guardians of the Galaxy was like a horror movie.
Right. Which I don't know if it, like, since it was the exact same team that made the first one, I don't know if the studio got super involved and made them do... I don't know what the fuck happened. It's just weird how different tonally it is from the first movie.
One thing I do like about it is that you get to see, like, Bill Skarsgård without the makeup, and he still brings it as the character.
Yeah, that was a good scene too.
Yeah,
like when he's like scratching the lines into his face.
Yeah, getting his makeup on and stuff. I thought that was neat, and it definitely they did that better than like Spider-Man 3, where it kept like retracting the Venom thing in order to show the actor's face because they didn't want to like not show the actor. At least with this one, it felt like, oh, I wanted that. Like that was cool that he got to appear in the movie himself. So he's got the weird eye thing going where he can do his eyes separately, and it's just weird. I think that's one of the reasons they casted him, right?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, like that and the drooling thing. I think one of the behind the scenes said that was Bill Skarsgård that brought both of those things to Pennywise. Like how he's always just like the drool's always falling out of his mouth and stuff.
Huh.
Yeah. Well, he obviously knows what he's doing because he owns that character. Like if they ever like remake this again, which I'm sure they will eventually, it's going to be hard for anybody to say that this wasn't the best Pennywine. Like, it's going to be hard for them to top this one. They might... Pennywise. We are the best Pennywine. It's going to be really hard.
We sure are.
It's going to be really hard for them to top this Pennywise.
But the thing is, it's kind of hard to even compare the original to now.
I think it's easy to compare them.
No, you can't.
And the new one is way better as far as like Pennywise.
Can't.
Bill Skarsgård is scarier, but I think Tim Curry has like the creepy weird factor, but it's like Tasha said, you can't really compare it because it's too completely like Tim Curry was given free reign to fucking do whatever the hell he wanted in the first It. Bill Skarsgård had like 3 scenes to convey his character basically.
I'm not saying any negativity over one over the other. I'm just saying you really can't compare them because they both bring different things to the table.
Yeah. Did the second movie have any annoying New Kids on the Block like or whatever things?
Well, the one scene where Ben's in the school, he puts his headphones on, you can kind of hear it in the background, I think.
Okay.
But it was not as overt as in the first one.
I'm pretty sure there's like 5 or whatever in the first.
At least the first couple scenes, anyways, in the first one.
Yeah. This movie's not that funny or that scary.
No, it's like if the only time I thought like the diffusion of the tension was funny and worked well was when Bill Hader's character Richie, like he he had some cheesy one-liner and he was going to throw the rock at Pennywise in the cave, and then Penny shined the deadlights on him and he like completely goes limp and his eyes like white over. Like that was funny, like genuinely funny.
Yeah. I got
that worked well, but like just do that one time. Don't do it every time there's a scare.
I gotta agree with that. That one is pretty funny, but the rest not so much. When they're killing Pennywise, it's pretty funny too. When they like get his heart, and I always think that part's funny.
Yeah, and it's just like, I mean, I don't get how they would have ended it, but it's just like, oh, we just have to call him a clown and that'll kill him. What? Why?
Yeah, because other people have tried to stand up to him and say, I'm not afraid of you, and they actually look like that they're not afraid of him. Like Beverly, like she was not afraid of him until she saw like the secrets of the universe or whatever in his in the orbs that are inside of his mouth. But it didn't have that effect on him then. I don't get it.
Yeah, it's like the Freddy Krueger from Nightmare 1, where it's just like, if you just say that you don't believe in him, he's dead.
Yeah.
Like, they've said that before.
Done it.
Yeah. Because they did that a few times in the first one, like,
right,
this isn't real, I'm not seeing you, and he's like, it is real, or I'm not real enough for you.
Yeah. It just kind of felt like a cop-out, especially in, like, the ending to a 5-hour fucking saga is just like, oh, he's a clown. Oh, he did.
Yeah.
I don't know how they could have ended it in a more satisfying way, but that ain't it, Chief.
Yeah. I wish that maybe it could have been a twist or something. I don't know. They should have got M. Night Shyamalan to help with the twist in the end.
Like, hey, if they had made it that Mike was actually, like, in on it or something, like, that would have been the twist I was not expecting. I would have been like, oh, this movie's crazy. It's taking risks.
This movie's crazy. He brings him down there. He's like, surprise!
I think that's about all I've got on this movie.
Yeah, we are 1 hour and 25 minutes in. So yeah, let's wrap this up. Let's wrap up this review, and we'll let these fine people, these fine viewers, go on their merry way.
Okay. Jake, you go ahead and start.
Um, I'm gonna give this one a 4 out of 10. Like I feel bad because I gave the first part a 9, but it's just like it's not the worst movie ever. Like I can still, like I have it on Blu-ray. I'm gonna watch it periodically, but I am going to skip most of it. Like I'll watch the Chinese restaurant scene. I'll watch a few scenes here and there, but I don't think I'm ever gonna sit down and watch this movie start to finish again. Like it's just
Yeah.
the middle, the second act where they go find the tokens is just such a fucking waste of time, and it's just like, and it literally is a waste of time because the ritual doesn't work, so it had no point. It was a waste of an hour and a half of my life. It's just this movie just wastes so much time and didn't have the confidence to let the stellar cast of adult characters shine, and it's just so much of this movie just I don't agree with any of the decisions really, other than like the casting of the adult actors. Like I think they did a fantastic job, except for maybe the Bill character. I don't know why something about him wasn't right, but like Bill Hader especially was fantastic. Like he was, for me, he was the star of the adult cast.
My turn.
If you want to go.
Okay, so I literally had the same rating in my head, 4 out of 10. I think I when I was talking to Pat about this, I was before the movie came out, I was pretty confident that they were going to do a good job with part 2. I was actually fairly confident that it would be as good, if not better, than the first one. I don't know why. I was like, okay, everybody's going to expect the adult version, just like the miniseries, to not be as good as the kid version. But I think they know that, and then they even hint at that at the beginning of the movie, where like everybody's like, nobody liked the ending of your movie or whatever, and I'm like, okay, so you guys doing this here because we're all going to be bitching about this movie because you know it sucks, or like so that way you can go ahead and make fun of us ahead of time and get ahead of it. I don't know, but I do not feel like that this movie is even close to the quality of the first movie, and it's one of the biggest stark differences in the same, like with the same director and the same cast and pretty much the same talent. It's one of the biggest differences between a part 1 and a part 2 that I've ever seen in any movie.
Yeah, absolutely. Agreed.
This is a huge difference in quality. Yeah, this is very unfortunate because part 1 is just so good, and this one existing makes part 1 a little bit worse just by being there.
Yeah, especially like what they tried to retcon from part 1 and part 2.
Yeah,
but
and I feel like that they were referencing some deleted scenes and some areas that we didn't get to see, and it was okay. That's the end of my review.
3 out of 10 for me.
Wow.
Savage.
Yeah, I mean, I just felt like this one was just dry. I didn't feel, I couldn't get into this one at all.
Yeah. It's not as bad as The Nun. I'll give it that.
No.
No.
Nothing's that bad.
No, I'll give you that one.
That's why, it's just a little bit worse than average for me.
But The Nun was only 90 mints.
Yeah.
I
That's
think.
true,
This,
yeah.
This was 3 hours.
If I'm forced to watch either one, I'll probably watch The Nun. Just because it'll be over faster.
2 times speed that, and it's done in like less than 30 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, if they're like, you gotta watch a movie or you're gonna die. The choices are The Nun or It Chapter 2. I'd be like, put The Nun on.
Or Pumpkinhead. Surprise choice number 3.
Pumpkinhead. I'll take that one over either of the two.
Yeah, that movie's like an hour and 10 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's not a great movie, but it's better than this shit.
Yeah.
Either one of these two, probably. I don't know what I gave Pumpkinhead.
I think you gave it a 3.
Yeah, so it probably is worse.
Okay. That's a 3 out of 10.
Okay. Well, let me switch it to the main, and we'll go into the what else of horror things have you watched. We watched Bly Manor. I did Phantasmophobia. I got I want to brush by a lot of stuff really quick because we watched so many extra
Well,
things.
I've watched a few on my own
Yeah,
as well.
you go ahead. Yeah.
Obviously, Friday was like a dream come true. I got to go see Nightmare on Elm Street in theaters. It was amazing. Like, I picked up on a lot of different things I've never heard, or like different lines I've just never heard in the actual different formats I've watched it. Because I've watched it in DVD, VHS, and Blu-ray. There was a lot of different... Huh?
How was the audio? Did it?
It was...
Because when I saw Halloween, it was like it didn't have like the booming audio that normally
it was booming.
Modern movie.
It was.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it was like you would think that they ripped this movie or to modern because it was
cool.
Picture clear. The sound was amazing. Like I said, there was stuff I've never even heard come from this movie before.
That's awesome.
I've also watched the first 4 Hellraisers. Let's just say after part 2, they get really bad.
Yeah, I'll watch part 2 eventually, but I liked part 1 so much, I just don't want to tarnish it. I'm kind of just waiting.
I don't want to watch the Hellraiser cinematic universe.
Let's see, what else? And I've also watched Amityville Horror Part 2, and that one was actually really good, too.
Huh.
It's really good.
I haven't seen that one.
It's good.
Cool.
And then I watched the Rob Zombie Halloweens, and the second one is nowhere like he changed the movie completely.
Wow.
Like completely.
I've definitely watched both of those, but it's been a few years, and I don't remember anything about them.
The
like
first
I just
one, I can get along with. The second one, I don't know still.
Yeah.
But go ahead, Mike.
So, have you seen Bly Manor?
No, I haven't watched. I tried to watch Hill House. I got like 2 episodes in, and I couldn't. It just was not doing it for me.
If you didn't like Hill House, you probably wouldn't like Bly, because in my opinion, Hill House is like way better than Bly. Now, Bly is just a completely different genre, so it's more of a love story with some horror elements to it, and it says so in the end.
Yeah.
You know, it says that that's what it was. It's just not what I expected, which is okay. I feel like, and me and Tasha agree on this, I feel like that it takes too long to give you the answer to the mystery. By the time, and for no value, it's actually a really simple story. And I feel like if I would have known, then the rest that happens afterwards would have been less confusing and frustrating and more enjoyable. So I don't like the decision to include the story behind the ghost at the end. I wish it was like episode 3 instead of like episode 7.
It was perfectly splendid.
A lot of people said that they hated that, but I thought it was cute.
The little girl says this over and over. It's
Over
perfect.
and over.
It's perfectly splendid.
Perfectly splendid. And if people made memes like, you want to hear the most annoying noise in the world? And it was just had the little girl saying, perfectly splendid.
It was cute because she couldn't be. She was like 8 years old. It was adorable.
Yeah, it was cute.
Yeah, maybe I'll try Hill House again. I just like it's one of those shows where people are like, oh, you have to watch 5 episodes, and it's like, if something doesn't captivate me in the first hour, why would I put 4 more hours into it?
Also,
Yeah.
maybe you felt like you had to watch it because it was like when you was trying to watch it, it was like everybody's like, you gotta watch it.
Yeah.
Now that's been a year in, and everybody's kind of moved on to Bly Manor. Maybe try it again.
Yeah. And my thing, dude, is I selfishly want you to see, there's one episode where the camera doesn't cut for like 30 minutes. Like, and they acted this all out in one sequence.
Huh.
And so if one person forgets their line or something 15 minutes in, they'd have to reshoot it again. Mm-hmm. And I love doing that gimmick with my own little crappy short films. And I love seeing like how amazing and great that episode. That's the best episode, bar none. It's not even close. It's just one really long take, and I love it so much. So at least watch that, if nothing else, just because it's.
Is that like episode 6?
it's like episode. It's the funeral episode. So if you play it, it's like a funeral home. Yeah, it's pretty clear which one. And the two best episodes in the whole season are right next to each other there, because you got the Crooked Lady or the Hanging Lady or whatever it's called. I think it's the Hanging Lady.
Crooked Lady, I think.
Crooked Lady, yeah. It's got that one and the funeral episode back to back, and those two, if you just watch that as its own movie without the context of the rest of the season, that's a good movie. Like, I would recommend that 2 hour long experience just with those middle two.
The Bent Neck Lady.
Bent Neck Lady.
And it looks like
maybe
it's episode 7.
maybe we'll try it again. We've just finished Schitt's Creek, which is a terrifying horror show, and now we'll watch this instead.
Should we check out Schitt's Creek?
It's not a horror show; it's a comedy, but it's a really good comedy.
Yeah, I'd never heard of it, so.
Mike, do you have any other horror related?
Yes.
So we can let Jake.
Yeah, many, but I'll go quick for the rest. So, Phasmophobia or Phasmophobia or whatever it's called, it is a game where you go into a house and you try to figure out what type of entity is haunting the house. So you put together 3 clues between EMF readers and ghost writing in books and ghost boxes, so it literally can hear your microphone, and so you can say the ghost's name, or you can ask it to give you a sign, and it'll react in the game. I've been playing it in VR, but I've been playing it with friends who have a 2D monitor, and I've put like 20 hours into this game. It's like so scary, but so satisfying, and when I'm at work, I just look forward to being able to come home and play it. It's so good. I love it.
So it's like Clue, but paranormal.
Yes, precisely. It's like Clue. Yeah, you got to get the three clues, and you're like, oh, this is a demon. Because if it writes pentagrams in your book, or if it writes anything in the book, and it talks to you on the ghost box, on the ghost radio thing I was telling you about, then it's a demon.
Yeah.
And that's the most aggressive one, so you better get your ass out of the house. So, there's an example. So yeah, that, and then, let's see, I watched several things. I did The Bly Manor. What else did I watch?
Host.
Oh yeah, The Host. So we watched that 50-minute long Shudder original on Shudder, and it's like, that one sucked though.
It was really bad.
I thought it sucked. It's been getting a lot of praise because it's like a Zoom call, so everybody can relate to it right now, and it's like a found footage Zoom call, but it's only 50 minutes long, so it goes by quick. It still feels like an hour and 20 minutes, actually, but even though it's only 50. It's like...
It doesn't sound like my thing.
It's worse than Unfriended, and it's the same gimmick, and everybody didn't like Unfriended. But
they like this.
But they like this for some reason, even though it's worse than Unfriended in every way.
Well, that hipster horror thing, it's like some hipster decided that it was groundbreaking and thought-provoking, and then now everyone's like thinks the same.
Yeah, it's probably, and they're like, they think that it's a smarter movie or whatever, but I disagree. I think it's just as dumb. They're both dumb, and I think just one of them's more entertaining than the other. I mean, none of them are as good as Searching. That movie was awesome. But
yeah, that was a good one. For me, I rewatched the original Texas Chainsaw. That movie's still like, oh God, it's so good. I love that movie. So scary, so suspense. I like just the suspense of the second half of that movie. God, so good. And then I've been playing Resident Evil 4. I'm terrible at it. Like I don't know if either of you have ever played it, but I'm on like chapter 2 out of like 10, and I think I'm at the point where I can't get any farther because I'm just so bad at it. But it's fun. It's like I'm into the story, but. So I'm just watching YouTube videos of somebody that's actually good, so I can see the whole story.
Oculus Quest 2, Jake.
No, we're not getting down there. So down that road. Are y'all ready to go ahead and do for recommendations for next month?
Yeah. I could talk more about horror and things I'm planning on watching, but Bly, what would you rate Bly? Do a quick rating, quick round.
Probably between a 7 and an 8.
Oh, really? You liked it better than me, because I think for me, it's a solid 6.
Okay.
Like, it's better than your average show, but I didn't think it was. I mean, like, I want to upgrade it to a 7 just because of the eyes and the faces and the. Anyways, that's it. All right, so guys, we have mutually decided, aka I have tried to enforce my will, that we will actually do the found footage thing for next month that me and Jake were talking about last time. So, Jake, what's your recommendation?
My rec is Rec.
Oh,
REC.
yeah. Rec.
I've heard that this is good, and I've watched some like trailers and kind of like reviews of it, and it sounds like I will enjoy it. So I'm excited.
Okay.
I'm going to do The Visit by Midnight Shyamalan.
Have you seen that yet, Jake? Before?
No, I haven't.
Oh, interesting. And I'm going to recommend The Last Exorcism. Have you seen that one?
I haven't seen any of these movies. It's all new for me.
Oh, yay. This one's going to be interesting. So, quick context is The Last Exorcism is the first movie that got me into horror. Like, it was the movie I saw at theaters.
What?
My friends... Yeah, it was the first one.
No, that was Insidious.
No.
Yes.
No, it was this one, I'm telling you.
This one was never went to theaters.
Yeah, I saw this one in theaters without
No.
you.
Insidious was the first one that got you into horror.
No, it was this one.
Don't listen.
Anyway. This is the type of shit I could edit out if it's not live.
Patrick Wilson does play in this.
Oh, okay.
And Lynn Shay plays in The Visit, so.
Yeah. But yeah.
It's a real Conjuring universe in here.
Yeah. I hope that you end up liking these as much as you liked Grave Encounters, because he actually liked it.
I hate that.
And Tasha was away last time.
I
Why
was
do you
having
hate
fun.
it? Yeah, why do you hate it?
I'm just not a big found footage. That's okay, because I agreed to this one because December we're doing slasher month, and because he doesn't like slashers.
Ooh, all right, my picks are Texas Chainsaw.
Okay.
Done. I've already picked my next month.
All right. I've got ones of mine, too.
All right, guys. Well, is there anything else that we would like to do to wrap up the podcast, or is everybody good?
I'm good.
Bye.
Happy Halloween.
Yep. Happy
Happy Halloween.
Spook.